guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you guys can see by the title of this video, this is going to be another video in my wedding series, which is super duper exciting. So as you guys can see by the title of this video, this is going to be a video all about budgeting, my budgeting tips and tricks for weddings essentially. Now weddings are super duper expensive, I understand that. I think the average wedding here in New Zealand costs about $35,000, so that is a lot of money. You can definitely do weddings for a more affordable cost. I know one of my friends did a wedding for $12,000, so it's definitely possible. I know people have done it for under $5,000, so yeah, it definitely is a big expense. Things can add up very, very quickly. So I thought I would make this video today just with all of the things I think I've learned through saving for a wedding. So I had been saving for a year and 4 months essentially. I do apologize if you can hear that little noise outside. I'm hoping it's not too loud, but it possibly could be. Please ignore that if you can hear that in the background. Hopefully it's not too distracting. I just want to say that saving for a wedding is not easy. It is hard, but it is so worth it, and yeah, it is literally one of the best days of your life. But yeah, I've written everything down on my phone. I've got 11 tips that I want to share with you guys, and hopefully it can help some of you out if you are a new bride and you are kind of like overwhelmed, I guess, with the amount of wedding stuff that you've got to organize and pay for. And also if you're like struggling to work out how you're going to pay for everything, then hopefully these tips will be helpful to you. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. So my first tip is quite a big one to understand, and that is to know that it takes sacrifice. Saving for a wedding is not easy. You will have to say no to going out for dinners. You will have to say no to buying a new top for yourself, buying new makeup, buying new skincare. Definitely if you have it in your budget, you can get small pieces here and there, but I cut back on my spending by a crazy amount. I was putting like hundreds of dollars each month away for the wedding. Most of the time I left myself with about $10, $20, $30 if I was lucky per week, and I work full-time, so that's kind of something to really understand and grasp. It is a very difficult thing to understand and grasp. I know that in some of my previous vlogs I've explained how hard it is to say no to going out with your friends or doing this or doing that, because everything adds up. Even if you get a $5 coffee here and like a $10 lunch here, that's $15. That could buy you 2 pieces of decor, you know what I mean? So like everything just adds up, and yeah, just if you can sacrifice in areas, then you'll be more likely to save a lot quicker. Definitely leave yourself like the bare minimum each week that you kind of need to get by, and be realistic about the bare minimum as well, and then put all the rest towards your wedding. The next tip is quite a helpful one, and that is to see if there are multiple ways that you can earn income. So obviously if you work full-time, that's a really great option. If there are an opportunity to pick up extra shifts at work, take them. I did this a lot. There were a lot of weeks where I pulled 6-day weeks because the pay was really good and I was able to put a lot of money into the wedding fund, which was great. If you have time and the availability to get a second job, that definitely could be worth getting into. Something I did as well that helped me earn like a little bit of extra money but nothing too crazy was doing online surveys. So I'm still signed up to the Mobrog surveys website. This isn't like sponsored or anything by them, but I just genuinely really like their surveys. I've told like my friends about them as well, and essentially you can link it up to a PayPal, which you can then link up to your bank account, and every survey that you do just gives you money essentially. It's not a lot, it's like 10 cents to up to $3 per survey that you do, and some surveys you won't be eligible for because they've already got like that target group, or they're looking for like a certain group of people, so you can't do every survey on there, but there are quite a lot of them that you can. And I think over the past couple of months alone, like not including the stuff that I did for the wedding, just for like myself, I earned like 90 bucks. It adds up, and it definitely could go towards something in your wedding, so that could be an option as well if you don't have enough time to get a second job. You could also sell things online if you've got a good skill, like an artistic skill or like an editing skill or like a cooking skill, and you want to use that to make a little bit of extra money, then definitely, yeah, be creative and kind of think about how you could earn some extra money money and go with that. But yeah, even like staying an hour later at work or starting an hour early can really help to like give you a little bit extra each week. Now this next tip I wish I had done, and I want to recommend it to any couple out there that is thinking of marriage, and that is to start saving for your wedding before you get engaged. So if you and your husband to be or your fiance to be, your boyfriend are quite serious and marriage is down the line and it's on the table for you, definitely start putting money away earlier rather than later, because it will help you immensely down the track, and you may actually be able to extend your budget and spend more than what you thought you would have if you've started saving earlier. I honestly wish we'd done this. We didn't start saving until we got engaged, and it just puts a lot of pressure on you, and especially if you want to get married in like a small amount of time, it's so stressful otherwise. So yeah, if you can get onto it early, great. If you're already engaged, maybe just kind of work out a date that you want to get married by and work out if it's gonna be viable to save a certain amount that you need before that date, if that makes sense. My next tip I touched on in my wedding tips and tricks video, but that is to go local with your vendors if you can. Obviously if you're from a small town and you can't go local, I totally understand that, but if you're from like a decent place, like a big enough place where they have like decent wedding vendors, definitely try and stay local, because as soon as you start pulling vendors from out of town, it gets pricey. You have to end up paying for their travel and their accommodation if they are like being a part of your wedding day. So Phil and I only had a few people from out of town. We had our marquee people, which were coming from Hamilton, so their delivery fee alone was like $1,500 or something crazy like that. And then we had Phil's auntie from Tauranga, so luckily we didn't have to pay her travel because she was coming down anyways. And then our cake lady was up in Auckland, but luckily one of my friends bought the cake down, because if she was going to carry it down, we'd have to pay her extra. And Phil and I looked at a videographer in Tauranga, but it was going to cost us like just under $2,000 to be able to get him to Hawke's Bay, and that doesn't even include any of the actual like videography that he was going to do for us. It starts to add up really quickly if you have vendors that aren't local. Obviously if you've got like a specific person that you really want to use and they aren't local, then go for it. But yeah, if you can, I would just try and stick to local vendors, especially if you're on a budget. So this next tip, again, I mentioned in my wedding tips and tricks video. Some of those will kind of cross over into this video. That is to thrift what you can. The amount of stuff that you can thrift and end up saving money on is crazy. Like I managed to find a lot of decor in the op shops and on Facebook Marketplace, or from even friends and family who had got married previously, and it saved us a heap of money. I have done a whole video on everything that I thrifted for our wedding, so I will leave that video down below and in the eye for you guys as well, because there is a good range of stuff in there to really show you guys what you can find. Obviously if you're short on time, maybe Facebook Marketplace is a better option because you can be more specific, whereas if you have the extra time to be able to go out to an op shop and just dig and hunt, highly recommend doing it. And definitely going in with like a vision of how you could use things as well just really helps. And yeah, you can end up finding a lot of really nice pieces for like under $5. This next tip is something that Phil and I did, and I would definitely recommend doing it at like the start of your wedding planning process, and that is to know what you value and what you want to spend your money on. Phil and I knew that we wanted to spend money on photography, videography, venue, and our cake. That was where we wanted to spend the bulk of our money, and I would pretty much say that was the bulk of our money. Definitely with the photography and the videography, that was one of our bigger bills that we had, and then same with our venue, but it was worth it to us. And it's definitely worth seeing what you value. Like if you value your dress, spend a lot of money there. If you value flowers, spend money there. If you value photos, spend money there, because what you don't want to get into the habit of doing is being like, oh well, I like this person, their stuff's good, but it's not something that you value, but it's still going to cost you thousands of dollars. If you just really put your money into the things that you value, you'll feel better at the end of the wedding, and you end up wasting less money, if that makes sense. Definitely stick to the list, and yeah, just keep it as like an accountability thing for like you and your partner. Like if you're buying stuff, like, is it something that we value? Do we want to spend this much money on it? Can we budget to spend this much money on it, if that makes sense. So yeah, we pretty much wrote down a list of like everything that we were going to have to pay for our wedding, and then we put a tick or a cross if we want to spend more or spend less, and that definitely really helped us kind of stay accountable and just make sure that we were on track, essentially. The next tip again is kind of in like the early planning stages, and that is, if you can, plan it yourself. If you can't afford a wedding planner, don't get one. Like, you can definitely plan a wedding yourself, even with like help from like friends and family and like your parents and stuff. It's actually really doable. Phil and I did that. We just planned the whole thing ourselves, and it actually worked out really, really well. And honestly, if I was visiting our wedding, I wouldn't be able to tell that they didn't have like a planner or someone professional behind the scenes organizing it, because it all worked out really, really well. And definitely, if you've got the time, do it. I will let you guys know, I don't want to like give you guys the wrong impression. It is not easy. It is hard. There is always things that you've got to organize and sort out, but in my opinion, like, it's kind of worth it to know that like on the actual wedding day, when you have people coming up saying this is beautiful, like you've done such a great job, to know that you kind of did that all yourself in a way. Like, it's really, really nice. And that definitely happened with us, and then it was really cool to be able to see our vision kind of come together and come to life. And yeah, it was great. So this next tip, again, I feel like I touched on in my previous wedding tips video, but that is to see what strengths your friends and family and you have. And if you can, and if you would like to, use some of those as your vendors, because again, that will end up saving you heaps of money. So Phil and I saved money on our celebrant. Our celebrant was our pastor from back home, so he didn't charge a single thing, which is probably a couple $100 that we saved just there. Our friend from church drove us in his old school Jag, which again saved us probably about $500. And then our friend from church let us use their property for our marquee to go on, so obviously that kept the cost of like the actual marquee whole situation down. What else? We had Phil's auntie doing flowers, so we spent under $1,000 on all of our flowers, which, if you know how much wedding flowers are, they get expensive. Like, you can end up spending $3 grand for just the bare minimum. So the fact that we had her doing our flowers really, really helped, because she obviously got us a good deal with all the flowers and everything. We had Hannah doing all of the signage, like digitally putting it all together, so that saved us a heap of money because she didn't charge us anything. We didn't have to pay for like a calligraphy artist or like whatever, like hundreds of dollars to get nice signage. She just did it for us, and then we just printed it out, so it cost us like 20 bucks to print out. So like, that's totally fine. That's so doable. And like, just things like that. We had Phil's ex-workmate be our bartender, and she didn't charge us anything. So yeah, definitely looking at your friends and family and seeing where they can help or where they can step in, and then looking at what you can do yourself as well. Like, if you're really good at making cakes and you've got the time, make your own wedding cake. If you're good at sewing, make your own dress if you've got the time. Like, you can end up saving a heap of money by just seeing what skills your friends and family have, and someone will have a skill. If your like family can have like connections with places and you can hire things for like a more affordable price, then definitely do that. This next tip, I feel like we generally all know, but that is to use discount codes if you're shopping online. So if you're buying something online, use discount codes if you can find them. So I know with my first lot of jewelry, I used a discount code to get them cheaper. With my dresses, I got a discount code because I lived in New Zealand with shipping. So yeah, definitely if you can. If you can install Honey on your computer, that is a really good way as well. Honey kind of searches through the entire internet and finds you discount codes to use for like websites that you want to buy stuff from. So you can end up saving a heap of money if you just spend like 5 minutes trying to find a discount code. Second to last tip is to pick and choose. So again, I've kind of touched on this, but really figuring out where you want to spend your money and not going over the top as well. Don't have like every piece of decor, because at the end of the day, you're only going to have a limited amount of space and you don't want things to look too crowded or too messy. I felt like we had just the right amount of things. When I like first had everything all together, I'm like, oh, maybe we've got too much to like place them around things. But I feel like we had just enough, and I was really happy with how everything kind of pulled together. But you do not need every piece of decor, so definitely filter through and work out what's going to suit your wedding and what's going to look the best. And yeah, like literally if we'd had any more, it would have been so over the top in the space that we had. And then my last tip again is kind of just like, if all else fails, see if your family want to contribute anything to the wedding, see if your friends want to contribute anything. You can always get a loan as well if you are really struggling. I know with our wedding, both my family and Phil's family contributed, so families generally want to contribute, but obviously if you're not in a position where your family can, like, that's totally fine, or you don't really have a good relationship with your family, then that's totally fine. I mean, I don't really like asking people for money, that's just like me personally, but like I know that a lot of people will offer to like help you out or like pay for something if they know it's really important to you for your wedding day. So there we go, guys. Those are all of my wedding budgeting tips and tricks that I have for this video. Hopefully this helped some of you out if you are saving for a wedding currently, if you're planning on getting married, if you're already engaged. Hopefully you found something helpful in this video and you took something away from it. Obviously I didn't say specifics because I believe my next video will be my wedding budget, so I want to go real into depth about how much we spent and kind of what we spent money on and the exact figures and everything. So I'm really looking forward to that video. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Please make sure to turn on the notifications and check out my social media. It's always linked down below. If you guys have missed any of my previous wedding series, then I will leave that playlist down below and in the eye for you guys as well. Yeah, if there's any budgeting tips that I've missed and you're already married watching this video, let me know down below that we can all kind of help each other out. And yeah, I shall see you guys in my next video. Bye.